Hey guys, welcome back. First console patch for Citadel Forged with Fire. Granted, it did launch with a patch, but that's the launch patch, so I don't really consider that the first patch. The screenshots are from PlayStation, but this is going to be the same patch notes for Xbox, and on the Facebook page for Citadel Forged with Fire, it says, Xbox players, we're hoping this same update is launched for you later this week, so this applies to you as well. Firstly, I did want to mention that Arcane Storm did not receive the change that I spoke of a few times before, and that was specifically to where it would not target structures. If anything, it got buffed, so be careful with that one. I tested it earlier, and yeah, you can definitely tell that it's got a higher range. So we'll see with that. As far as it not targeting structures, that was something we talked about in Discord. And so we thought that that was coming with this patch, but no, it's not. So just be aware. Also, I'm not going to go through every line. I'm going to talk about some of the highlights, but I'll let you guys read through it. You can look at the full patch notes on Twitter or Facebook, Citadel Forged with Fire. Or if you don't have either, just Google Citadel Forged with Fire Twitter, and you can just pull it up in a browser, and you don't have to have a Twitter to look at their page. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about everything. A few things here. They're increasing the range of some single target spells that needed that. They're increasing the range of Pacify, which is something we talked about before, which is good. I don't know if you'll notice it, but 15%, hey, we'll take it. We'll take what we can get. They made the starting area a little bit easier in regards to entry-level mobs. And keep in mind, as I've mentioned before, there are different levels of servers. So if you're on a normal server, a one-times server, it takes a lot longer to get out of the early stage of the game than if you're on a 3-times or a 5-times. So I was talking to someone earlier, and I'm not throwing them under the bus, but they talked about how some of my guides on building boxes with turrets are really for early game and shouldn't be considered for late game, because he has like a really big base. It looks like a castle. It's got good defenses, but my point is that early game is a lot longer for some people than others, especially if you're on a 5-times. If you have a base that took 2 weeks to build on 5-times and you think that this is the base, or you're in the direction of having like a really nice base, well, on a normal server that would take you 10 weeks to build, and that's if you don't get raided. So there's a lot to consider when you look at these patch notes and compare yourself to the different types of servers. So, there's 1-times, 3-times, 5-times, and then there's special servers in between that. They did a little tweak to the siege turrets. They nerfed them a little bit. I haven't really seen people use siege turrets. I've tested them. But I'm guessing like if you just put a bunch of siege turrets, and I think this was happening more so on PC, if you just lined up a bunch of siege turrets, you could melt a base, like melt the wall of a base, but now they've made it to where it takes longer. And so if you do have a bunch of them, it won't like immediately shred a base, I'm guessing. And continuing, just reading through here, they decreased the cost of a lot of things early game, which is good. And gave you a little bit of armor on early game gear. Armor is very strong in this game. Armor is like the thing that makes you strong in PvP, because if you have high armor with bark skin, you're like, invulnerable in a 1v1. So it's really interesting how they've done that. Enemy projectiles dismount players from flight trinkets. So flight trinkets are brooms. They're flying potions. I experienced this firsthand without reading the patch notes because I was flying by a base and got hit by a turret, and yeah, it knocked me off my broom. I was like, oh, okay, that does that now. Cool. Which is definitely a good thing. So we'll see how that happens. Oh, I lost my place here. Okay, adjusted some NPC stuff, and then a bunch of aesthetic adjustments that you could read through. And then some technical fixes. Server stability is a huge thing. We needed that. Structure deletion. There's no cooldown. So the way that I read this is there's no real cooldown if you've owned the structure for a set amount of time. If it's a new structure, then there's going to be a cooldown, or if you're deleting a structure that is throneless, then there will be a cooldown as well. But that'll at least help you delete some spam if someone's trolling you and putting spam outside of your base. Added some transfer all, drop all stuff, which is good. And then a spell preview. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to assume that just tells you what spell you're crafting so that you're not accidentally crafting the wrong thing. I honestly did it all the time early game with Blink. I always got confused between, well, not confused, but I couldn't remember if it was self or utility. And so that, from what I'm reading, that should help out a lot. Some other things, some technical things, VoIP stuff, map icons, when fast traveling, huge right there, actually. I tested it earlier, way easier to fast travel now. So awesome. Thanks for that. Blue Isles, appreciate that. And then some other things, server announcement stuff. Conduction no longer chains off structures. Conduction is that ability. It's a beam attack to Stormy Essence. It's that thing that chain lightnings off of everything. I haven't seen people use that for raiding, but I mean, okay. But doesn't chain off structures anymore, so that's good, I guess. Flying creatures go into flying mode if being attacked by flying players. We talked about that a lot, and so I have to test that out. But as far as Phoenixes, I typically tame them when they're flying anyway, so I don't think that is going to affect the Phoenix methods. Monoliths only allow one buff. Yeah, before you could just like do a route around the map and just take a bunch of monolith buffs. It was pretty funny. Some other stuff. Continuing some stability stuff, which is great. Servers don't take damage while on the loading screen. That is so funny because I was right there when someone mentioned that in Discord, and the developer said that they would mention it to the team, and so I'm glad to see that. Yeah, and not for PvP specifically, but like for PvE, like if you crash somewhere or the server crashes, then you're on the ground and you're killed before you even spawn in. Obviously, combat logging is frowned upon in games like this, and that's where you log out to avoid getting killed in PvP. And so I'm not saying whether or not you should have invulnerability in the loading screen for PvP, but I think at least it's really good for PvE stuff when servers crashed. Some other performance things. I'm just looking through some stuff here. Lowered the slot count on opulent chests. So I'm curious if maybe that was causing like a crash or something, because I believe the opulent chest is 250 and it said and NPCs. So I'm trying to think which NPCs they lowered the count on, because so like a flame dragon's 150, a black dragon's 200, a phoenix is 250, and then a infernal is 300. Now there are, as far as the grounded mounts that people don't use a lot, I'm not sure on those, but no, those are the main mounts that people use. So I'd assume like a golem has more weight than that, but interesting. Looking through some more stuff. Second delete character confirmation. Probably need that. I almost deleted my character the other day. So yeah, definitely good. Critical bugs, siege, and defensive structure exploits. I fixed critical bugs, and they probably didn't want to say what it is, but I wonder what that is. Defensive structure exploits. Interesting. Fixed an issue where some own structures became void. Looking through some more stuff. A rare server crash. Wow. That's the majority of it, guys. So definitely a lot of technical stuff, some quality of life stuff. No real content, and you wouldn't expect that. And I do have some news on turrets and, was it specifically? I think it was specifically turrets. So in a future patch, I'm not going to say the next patch, but I have confirmed, and I've been told it's okay to mention this, that they are going to double the range of the turrets. And when I say turrets, I'm paraphrasing for arcane obelisks. They're going to double the range, and they're also going to have better tracking to where the turrets will shoot where you will be versus where you are at the moment. So we'll see how that works out. How, I don't know how difficult. I can't imagine it would be terribly difficult for them to do that. So hopefully it's in the next patch, but that's confirmed that's something that's going to happen. Hey guys, here's the patch notes. 10-minute video. check out the patch notes for yourself if you get a second. If you have any questions, please ask. I don't have any additional news outside of what I've told you, but if you're interested in something, I wouldn't mind asking for you. But until next time, thank you guys. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff.